Test 1, 2.
Melanie, thank you. Melanie usually has that list.
Obviously, you need terms.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, thank you. So we are just going through our list of attendees and we're identifying all of our participants. So if you can just give us a couple more minutes and we'll be ready to begin.
Okay.
Oh, we can just turn it off.
Is that the right last name?
A Rose, yeah. And then
There's a
955, okay. Caller with the last three numbers of 955, can you please identify yourself?
This is Thomas Morrissey.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Morrissey. And what was the other one, 383?
How do you spell?
Morrissey,
Tom, you're representing Melinda.
Morrissey.
That's correct. Okay.
And then
I
that
Two
one-
R's?
want to verify that.
And the other one is 383? I can't see from here, sorry. And then lastly, caller with the last three numbers of 383, can you please identify
Green
yourself?
is on here.
Sarah, this is me, Kenneth Nguyen.
Oh, thank you.
My cell phone number.
Thank you, Commissioner Nguyen.
5383.
Yes, 38, yes, that's it. We'll put your name down. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, can you unmute Commissioner Nguyen? Commissioner Nguyen, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you now.
Okay,
Can you
great.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
5383 is my cell phone number.
Thank you, Commissioner Nguyen.
It's muted right now, but just say the word now broadcast. Oh, go ahead.
Caller with who just joined the meeting with the last three numbers 549. Can you please identify yourself?
Hi, this is Lisa Storr, City Attorney's Office.
Oh, Lisa, that's yours with the 549?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Caller that just joined the meeting with the last three numbers 550, area code 310. Can you please identify yourself?
Try it again.
Hi, Sarah. This is Min.
Oh, hi, Min. Thank you. I'll go ahead and add you to the list. Thank you.
Like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see who we have. We have one, two, three, 885, 4. Why do we only have 4 numbers?
4700.
Yeah, I don't, that's a city number. We're not gonna be able to tell who that is. 885. Okay, and lastly, I believe caller with the last three numbers 885. Can you please identify yourself?
Sarah, this is Bernie.
Oh, hi, Vernie. Thank you so much for joining. We'll go ahead and add you to our list. So Chair McLaughlin, just so you're aware, I think we are awaiting just a couple of commissioners. I'm going to tally our participants now. Just one moment. Oh, Vernie, with V-E-R-N-Y. V-E-R-N-Y. Okay, so we have Commissioner Morrissey, Commissioner Nguyen, Commissioner Fan, Commissioner McLaughlin, and then if you can scroll down, Commissioner, go down. Oh, and we had Commissioner. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so McLaughlin. Oh, we're still waiting for Felix. 4,
I don't hear him very well on this side anyway.
Felix,
Oh.
Garcia, and
Well, what'll happen is they'll hear you fine on YouTube. but
Is
they won't hear you on
Commissioner
Zoom.
Rivera on the line?
So, try it again, try it again.
Is Commissioner Rivera on the line?
And Vince,
What about Commissioner Garcia?
since we know most people turn Zoom down, if they're interacting, they have to turn their, excuse me, they have to turn down their YouTube. That's how the people that aren't calling. So, otherwise, I think we have
Where's my
I did get your remote microphones, these blue things.
And do we have Vice Chair Contreras Leo on the line?
Yeah, the blue one, you have to buy one of those.
Chair McLaughlin? Chair McLaughlin?
Yes. Yes.
As of now, we have 4 commissioners participating. I just did a call for Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Rivera, and Vice Chair Contreras Leo. We do have quorum if you would like to begin, or we can wait a couple minutes for them to see if they get onto the line. And just so that you know, Chair McLaughlin, at about 4:30, Commissioner Garcia did say that she was tentative for tonight's meeting. I did not receive any further correspondence indicating that she would not be attending tonight's meeting.
Okay, and Contreras Leo had asked me if the meeting was still being held, so I don't know whether she did call you and say she was going to make it.
Yes, she had indicated, she emailed me this morning, and I informed her that we did send out the agenda packet last week, and she did mention that she would be attending tonight's meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's give it,
okay, we
give it
have...
to 5:40.
We have someone else who joined in the call. Caller with the last 3 numbers of 342. Can you please identify yourself?
Mark, and my last name is DeBourbon. My name is Mark DeBourbon with Amazon.
Oh, thank you. Mark, I will notate that you are the applicant for Amazon. That's an applicant. Just put Amazon.
Ma'am, I don't know if I'm necessarily the applicant, or maybe our architect representing us and others on the phone as well.
Sure,
Just
well,
standing by just in case questions come up.
thank you.
Thank you.
190. I'm going to go ahead and ask for Commissioner Rivera or Commissioner Garcia or Vice Chair Contreras Leo. Are you on the line?
Vice Chair Leo sent me a text, she's having problems getting on. She's asking about the call and information.
You sent that to her?
Is it, does the number change every night?
Hi, this is, sure, I'm on the line.
She's showing one.
Commissioner Rivera?
So Felix, yeah, Felix is on.
Okay, great. So, let's see. We'll go ahead and, where did he go? Felix, your last 3 numbers, 190. We'll go ahead and add you to the list. Thank you for your patience, everyone. It's Felix Rivera.
She sent me one from June 22nd.
I forwarded her the information at 4:06. I'll do that again.
I don't know.
Do you have like a mini HDMI up here? I don't, actually, I don't.
I resent it again. Chair McLaughlin, we do have 5 commissioners. Vice Chair Contreras Leo has been in communication, and she is attempting to log in now.
Anyway, I'll bring one next time.
Okay, we'll give her a couple minutes and we'll go from there.
She's on hold with music, while we're gonna be.
Do you know why she would be on hold with music?
So she dialed the 669 number?
Yeah, 669-900-9128.
And then she needs to enter the web ID and then the participant
that
ID.
means
Web ID 315-965-149.
Participant ID.
537435.
Yes.
I think that's Zoom music that she's hearing.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go through, you get music from Zoom. Well, if for whatever reason it's trying to connect her as an attendee, it won't allow her to connect until I click broadcast.
Can you ask her just to hang up and try one more time, and then if that doesn't work, we're gonna. I just don't want everyone to hear it going back. Over there. Remember, he'll be okay to have the
Well, I
extension.
told him he, for Zoom to hear him, he needs to be over here with
You
one
have
of
to
these
come over
mics.
here.
For Zoom.
Okay.
YouTube will hear him fine,
I'm
but
not gonna say anything until Windows number 3. Is Brian talking on that one too?
I'll just say next slide then.
You did 2 thumbs up. I did, I made my phone number. Okay, she's trying again apparently.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo is attempting to log in. Please stand by.
Says meeting has not started, try again.
Okay, for some reason it's connected, so go ahead and do the broadcast. Let her know we did something on our end. If she can try one more time, and it should let her in.
Well, if she's still waiting, if she was connecting through it as an attendee, it should connect her now. What is the last 3 digits of her number?
I don't think it's on.
So you're gonna call it right now? Or
Oh, no, 3797. No.
There's no 797. If she was here, I could promote her to panelist if she connected through this way, but it looks like not. There's a 788, 193, and 139.
797.
Yeah, I have her phone number. We didn't see her on the list. Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Okay, so-
I want to promote her.
Okay, just one moment.
Actually,
I don't know if it's gonna.
797.
Yeah, we'll just allow her to talk all the time.
Okay.
Because she should always be on. Okay, Vice Chair
Hello?
Contreras-Leo, can you hear me?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, thank you
Yes,
for,
I'm here.
thank you. It seems we're having a little bit of tech issues. It could be on our end, but I'm glad you're here today. Chair McLaughlin, you do have 6 commissioners online. I'm just gonna do a call for Commissioner Garcia. Are you calling in? Okay, Chair. At
Okay.
this point, you do have quorum, and you may begin the meeting if you so wish to do so.
Okay. Commissioners, the Commission Secretary, will you start the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to call this regular Planning Commission meeting of July 13th, 2020 to order. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our new Commissioner, Tom Morrissey, who'll be representing Helena Mendoza out of Ward 6. Tom, welcome to the Planning Commission, and thank you for joining us. With that, I'm going to ask Tom to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Chairman McLaughlin.
Okay.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge
I pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the
allegiance
flag
to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America.
and to the republic
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
Under God.
under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
Liberty.
and
liberty and
justice
justice
for all.
For all.
for all. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Madam Secretary, will you please call roll?
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Morrissey.
Here.
Commissioner Nguyen.
Here.
Commissioner Fan.
Here.
Commissioner Rivera.
Here.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo
Here.
and Chair McLaughlin.
Here.
Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'd like to invite you now, please, to describe the way the public can access this virtual meeting.
Thank
Will
you.
you outline that, Commissioner Secretary?
This meeting is being live streamed via YouTube at youtube.com/cityofsantaanavideo/live and to our website at www.santa-ana.org/cc/city-meetings. While the meeting is in progress, the public may provide a comment by phone. To comment by phone, please dial 1-669-900-9128, enter meeting ID 315-965-149, followed by the pound. When prompted for a participant ID, just enter pound. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, please dial *9. When the comment period is opened, I will call on you by the last 3 numbers listed on the caller ID. When you are called on, please state your name, your position on the matter, and your comment. You will have 3 minutes. I will alert you when your time is up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I would like to move on to public comments on non-agenda items. Madam Secretary, do we have anyone that wishes to speak on a non-agenda item at this point in time?
If there is a caller that would like to speak on a non-agenda item, please press *9 now. We'll wait a few seconds to see if we have anyone who would like to speak. No one has indicated they would like to speak.
Hearing none, we'll close public comments and we'll move on to the consent calendar. I would like to have a motion and a second on the minutes of June 22nd, 2020. Do I have a motion?
As so moved.
Second. Leo?
Yes.
Second? And that's Ken?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, will you do roll call on the minutes from June 22nd, 2020?
Yes. Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Morrissey.
I abstain.
Right.
Commissioner Nguyen.
Thank you. Aye.
Commissioner Fan.
Aye.
Commissioner Rivera.
Aye.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
Aye.
Chair McLaughlin.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-1 with Commissioner Morrissey abstaining and Commissioner Garcia absent.
Thank you. Now I'd like to have a motion on the absence of Commissioner Garcia. Can I have a motion and a second? So moved. Okay.
Commissioner Rivera, I second.
All right. Thank you, Felix. Madam Secretary, can you do a roll call?
Commissioner Morrissey.
Aye.
Commissioner Nguyen.
Aye.
Commissioner Fan.
Aye.
Commissioner Rivera.
Aye.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
Aye.
And Chair McLaughlin.
Aye.
Motion passes with Commissioner Garcia absent.
Okay, and at this point in time, we'll end the consent calendar. We'll move on to the business calendar and public hearings. Public hearing, I'd like to outline the public hearing protocol at this time. I will now review the process for public hearings so that everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the Commission. The public hearing will be open and the applicant will be given an opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will then be closed. Discussion will return to the Commission with a formal action taken to approve, conditionally approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address. State whether or not you support or oppose or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should be including pertinent facts within your knowledge. Avoid gossip, emotion, and repetition. A clear, concise, non-repetitive argument is most effective. This is the time and place to consider item number 1, General Plan Amendment number 2020-03 and tentative track map number 2020-01 for the property located at 1122 North Greeley Street. I would like to to recommend at this time we forward it to the City Council for final determination at a later date. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item?
No.
Okay. With that, Jerry, are you presenting this item?
That is correct, Chairman. And good evening,
Okay,
and good
go ahead.
evening, Commissioners. As mentioned, this first item's on a proposed 10-unit condominium development at 1122 North BEWLEY Street. The applicant is requesting approval of environmental review number 2017-161, general plan amendment number 2020-03, and tentative track map number 2020-01. Moving on to slide number 4. The project site is located between Washington Avenue and 11th Street and is highlighted red as depicted in the aerial view. The property measures approximately 0.87 acres and currently has a general plan land use destination of low density and a zoning destination of medium density residential or two-family residential. The property is surrounded by multifamily developments to the north, east, and south, and commercial uses to the west. In addition, the project site is in close proximity to the planned Harbor Westminster OC streetcar stop, and is also adjacent to the Harbor specific plan, which allows for mixed-use developments. Moving on to slide number 5. As mentioned, the applicant is seeking to construct 10 residential units, which will be condos, so they will be market rate condos. Each unit will contain an attached two-car garage, as well as 2 additional surface parking spaces. In addition, the project does also have 2,500 square feet of common open space, and each unit provides a range between 250 and 1,000 square feet of private open space per unit. Moving on to slide number 6. This is the proposed site plan. The development is broken down into 4 buildings. Buildings A and D contain 3 units, and buildings C and B contain 2 units. The common open space is located in the central of the development between buildings B and C. The site is accessible via walkways off of BEWLEY Street. There is 1 pedestrian walkway along the north property line, which leads to the entrance of each unit. In addition to that, there is a centrally located pedestrian walkway as well. As mentioned, the development does contain a 2-car garage per unit, as well as 20 surface parking spaces, which are adjacent to buildings B and C, as shown on the site plan. Moving on to slide number 7. This is an enlarged site plan of the common open space that's being proposed. As mentioned, the area is roughly 2,500 square feet. The applicant is proposing to program this area and construct an outdoor patio cover, as well as, which will include outdoor kitchen appliances, benches, tables, trash receptacles, as well as an open space area, which would be programmed to allow for activities such as soccer games, or to allow for throwing a football or a frisbee. Moving on to slide number 8. This is one of the proposed floor plans of the first floor. This is the floor plan of the proposed building A, which again, as mentioned, each unit does contain its own attached 2-car garage, and the first floors are primarily kitchen, dining, and living room areas. And now moving on to slide number 9. This is the second floor plan of Building A. Again, all the other buildings are somewhat similar to this proposed floor plan in terms of the second floor layout. The second floor is primarily composed of the bedrooms and the bathrooms, as well as some common areas. In addition to that, each unit does contain its own private deck or balcony. And just to give you a range in terms of the number of bedrooms, each unit has their own different number of bedrooms, but the range goes from 2 to 4 bedrooms. Moving on to slide number 10. This is the proposed front elevations of Building A that will be facing BEWLEY Street. All the buildings have been architecturally designed to be cohesive, which does include a contemporary modern craftsman architecture. And some of the materials that the buildings would have include stone, stucco, wood siding, and stone veneer, and various different colors. Moving on to slide number 11. This is, again, elevation of Building A, just basically depicting the proposed elevations in terms of materials, as well as showing the locations of the attached garages and their entrances. All right, moving on to slide number 12. So one of the applications that the applicant is requesting is for a general plan amendment. The project site is currently has a general plan designation of low density residential and a zoning destination of two family residential, which is pretty much inconsistent. So the correct general plan land use destination for R2 properties is actually multifamily density residential. Since the applicant is requesting for a subdivision to allow for condos, the Santa Ana Municipal Code does require that the general plan and the zoning destinations need to be consistent. Because of this, the applicant is requesting for the general plan amendment. In addition to this, staff is also requesting that the Planning Commission as well as the City Council take into consideration rezoning the adjacent properties that are adjacent to this development in order to create a consistent block that would allow for medium density residential. And just to give you some background, both the developments to the north of this property as well as to the south of this property have currently developments between 17 units and 12 units. So based on this, the current land use destination is being shown on the left, and the proposed destination to multifamily density is being shown to the right. Moving on to slide number 13, as mentioned, the applicant is requesting approval of a tentative tract map subdivision, and this is basically to allow for a condo subdivision. So each individual condo lot will be sold separately, and CC&Rs will be developed to basically govern the common areas. Moving on to slide number 14. This project was originally submitted to the city back in 2017, and a sunshine ordinance meeting was conducted. I know it's been a couple of years, but based on the feedback that staff received from the residents, some of the concerns were with regards to too many units as well as not enough parking. Since then, the applicant has revised the site plan and has reduced the number of units to 10, and in addition has complied with the parking requirement, which is 4 parking spaces per unit. In addition, the site plan has been carefully drafted in order to create a common area that's going to be utilized for all the residents. In addition to that, As mentioned, there are 2 separate pedestrian walkways that lead from BEWLEY Street to the entrance of each unit. As proposed, the project will be consistent with the allowed density range, intent, and character of the medium density residential, and the surrounding properties will also be consistent. And as mentioned, this is a proposed condominium development which would increase and allow for ownership housing in the city of Santa Ana. Moving on to slide number 15. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, a mitigated negative declaration was prepared for the project. The draft document was released and circulated for public review for 30 days. The document was released on May 6th all the way to June 4th. In addition, a mitigation and monitoring reporting program has been drafted to mitigate and address biological resources, geology and soils, noise, tribal cultural resources, and cultural resources. Moving on to slide number 16. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council adopt Environmental Review number 2017-161, approve General Plan Amendment number 2020-03 to change the General Plan land use destination of the property and surrounding properties from low density residential to medium density residential, and approve tentative tract map number 2020-01 as condition to subdivide the property for condominiums. With that concludes staff presentation, and I'm here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Jerry. Let's start out with what we'll do. Tom, just so you know, we'll be going through a roll call of questions and answers. So you're on the list first. So Commissioner Morrissey, do you have any questions of staff?
No, I don't. I've reviewed all the documentation. I don't think I have any questions at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Nguyen, do you have any questions of staff?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Jerry, could you go back on slide number 5, please? On the parking, the applicant indicated that the total parking will be provided 40. No, one slide, after number 6, I'm sorry. Yeah, go to slide number 6, please. Yes, okay, so we have total 10 units. Each unit have 2 enclosed garage, so that will give us 20. But I'm counting only 15 street parking. So where is the rest of the 40 parking spaces that were provided?
Commissioner Nguyen, if you could take a look at the site plan, there are 20 surface parking spaces being provided. If you notice on the south portions of buildings C and B, those are surface parking spaces. In addition to that, there are spaces along buildings B as well as building C.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I see it. Thank you. That's the all.
Okay, Commissioner Rivera, any questions of staff?
No questions right now.
Commissioner Fan, any questions of staff?
Hi, yes, thank you for the presentation. I guess I just wanted a little bit of history. Obviously, I know that they're looking for a GPA here, but for that whole block, it seems like this might be the least or one of the less intense uses, and it seems like all the other lots have already been, I guess, medium density. You know, you have 16 units to the north, and I think 12 or something higher to the south. Can you just kind of give me the history, if you know, as to why, you know, we have this situation where everything else is already medium density, but this wasn't, the general plan wasn't updated properly at any other time?
Yes, Commissioner Fan, thank you. So as mentioned, the property to the north currently does have 17 units, and the property to the south contains 12 units. The reason for this, back in the 90s, the city did a update to the general plan or an amendment, and pretty much decreased the density of a lot of its parcels to mitigate some of the issues that the city was foreseeing because of these higher density developments. Because of that, we now have this inconsistency. So anytime a applicant or developer comes in and is proposing to build townhomes in the R2, they could theoretically build it by right, as long as the project does not trigger any discretionary action. In this case, this developer could potentially construct up to 12 units and do a rental product and not be required to go through this process. However, since this application does require a subdivision for condo purposes, the general plan amendment is being triggered. And as mentioned, majority of the surrounding properties already do allow for medium density, for which is why one of the reasons that the city is supporting this general plan amendment. In addition to that, as mentioned, the Harbor Specific Plant, which borders this property as well as the adjacent properties that runs north and south of Harbor, does allow for mixed-use development. So the thinking behind staff was that since we do already allow higher density along Harbor, this particular area will become a buffer zone between high density, medium density to the lower densities that are allowed west of BEWLEY Street.
Okay, so basically the main difference is the rental versus the ownership of the unit is what I'm, which is why it's triggering the GPA. Looking to the east of it, because we talked about the north and southern properties. To the east, those look like duplexes or single. They look like duplexes to me, or are they single-family homes?
Commissioner Tai, those are actually single-family homes with a mixture of duplexes. The R2 does allow for various configurations, so that's why you have some lots that are developed with 4, 5 single-family homes or 2 or 3 duplexes, and that is consistent with the R2 zoning district.
Great. So what we're proposing here, at least on the west side of BEWLEY, is consistent, if not lower intensity use than what is north and south of it, and consistent with whatever is to the east of BEWLEY. Essentially, we're not changing the character of the space. It's essentially the same.
That is correct.
Thank you. I realized I didn't pose it like a question. Appreciate it. That was all.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
No, I'm good right now. Thank you.
Okay, Jerry, just a couple of questions. Having gone out, how long has this land been empty?
Chairman, I'm not too certain in terms of the number of years. The applicant is on the call as well, and maybe we could defer that question to them. But it has been vacant for at least 5 years.
Okay, well, we'll bring that up with the applicant then. And the other thing is, I went around the neighborhood, and essentially what surrounds this particular project is single-story homes. And as I think you pointed out, I think that some of them are duplexes, some of them are quadplexes. You know, there's like 4 and 5. They're sort of connected to one another, but they're all single-story properties. Given that this project is going to be a 2-story project, is there limits? I can't tell from the schematic, from the pictures, the renderings, but the side that's facing out to the neighborhood, are those going to be limited from the standpoint of windows and anything else of that nature on the second floor?
Chairman, just to clarify, the development to the north is actually 2 stories. The rest of the developments are single story. So I'm not sure if you noticed, but based on the site plans, we actually did take into consideration the current built environment. For that reason, most of the buildings were pushed towards the north, and we therefore have the surface parking lot to the south to create that buffer. In addition to that, staff did work closely with the architect to make sure that the placement of the windows were not encroaching into any of the adjacent properties or potentially creating a view issue.
Okay, so you have identified that and worked through that on the current plan.
That is correct. In addition, the second-story balconies or decks are all facing inwards to the development.
Right, that I could see. Just out of curiosity, given the entry and everything else is going to be on the west side of the property, is going to be the entry?
The vehicle entrance will be provided to the to the east.
They'll come in on the west. And everything in this, the fire authorities all said it's got everything set from a fire truck standpoint. I mean, it's a tight squeeze. I'm just trying to make sure that we've got that covered.
Chairman, as part of the application was reviewed by the Orange County Fire Authority as well as Public Works. So a fire truck as well as a waste management truck will be able to enter the site, physically pick up trash, and then be able to back up and face forward and exit the development.
And the waste management location is the one that's far right of the parking spaces down on the site plan.
That is correct. That's the centralized trash enclosure.
Okay. Is this a gated community, or is this an open street?
Chairman, the applicant has not proposed a gated fence yet, but the street itself, that the internal street would not be accessible to the public. So it's a driveway. It's a
driveway, so it is accessible.
To the residents, it would not be accessible to the public.
Well, I mean, what I'm concerned about is that in driving around that neighborhood, obviously there wasn't anything significantly different than driving through a lot of neighborhoods in Santa Ana, and that is that there were at let's say 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning, there were a lot of cars parked along both sides of the streets and everything else. You've got 10, 20, we got 20 parking spaces that are sort of first come, first serve type situation. I'm just checking to see if the consideration has been made to make sure that is there any way that somebody is parking, owns a car, parks in this particular facility because they own one of the condominiums? Are they going to have permit parking in order to keep non-owners out of the parking spaces?
Chairman, I'm not too sure if this segment of BEWLEY Street requires permit parking. Maybe the applicant is aware of this, but either way, if...
Okay. Well, if the applicant's here and we can talk to it, then that's fine. I'll hold my questions until then. Okay. Having said that, would anybody else like to comment at this point in time? And we'll go through the list. Commissioner Morrissey.
Yes, thank you, Chairman McLaughlin. I just have one comment. I think the development will be a nice addition to the neighborhood by its virtue as a condominium development. It offers that extra affordability that everybody's looking for. So I think it's a positive addition to the city.
Okay.
That's my only comment on that.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Morrissey. Commissioner Nguyen, any other comments, questions of staff?
I have no comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nguyen. Commissioner Rivera.
Yeah, a quick question. As far as the notification to those who are surrounding the area, when was that made? I know I saw the notice on the report, but there was also a lot of some comments as far as letters being turned in, stating that there wasn't any or there wasn't. Is that just something that was missed, or how did that come about?
Commissioner Rivera, notices are mailed 10 days prior to the hearing date. So for this particular meeting, the notices were mailed on July 3rd, and it was also published in the Orange County Reporter on the 3rd, and also a posting at the site was made by the case planner on that date.
Really, just wanted to make sure that. Go ahead.
Oh, finish your statement. Sorry, Felix.
No, I just wanted to make sure that that everything was sent out. I know usually it does, but there's just, like I said, some of the correspondence that we got was saying that they didn't receive any information along those lines. So I just wanted to double check.
And to that question, is it also, since this project goes back to 2017, was there notification done at that point in time for this particular project? Maybe that's part of the concern.
Chairman, since the project did require a discretionary action and it did trigger the Sunshine Ordinance meeting, a community meeting was held on March 12, 2018. And I believe some of the concerns by the community was that there was not a follow-up meeting. Just a reminder, there was a work study session that was conducted as well. In addition to that, the mitigated negative declaration was circulated, and a letter was sent to residents within 500 feet on May 4th as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner Rivera. Commissioner Fan, do you have any other questions of staff?
Not any right now, thank you.
Commissioner Vice Chair Contreras-Leo?
I do have a question in regards to HOA fees. Should I ask that now to staff, or staff should I wait?
Chairman, that will be a question you could direct to the applicant. The city doesn't.
Okay, we'll direct it to the applicant.
Thank you.
We'll direct it to the applicant. Okay, I have no further questions, so we'll move on. Madam Secretary, have we received any written communications at this time?
Yes, all comments received by 5 p.m. have been distributed to the commission, and they have been posted to our website. And I'll provide a summary report of those comments. We did receive 6 in total, 3 in favor and 3 in opposition.
Okay. All right. Thank you. With that, we will open the public hearing at this time. Will the applicant like to speak on this matter?
Hi there, this is Ada Rose, YG Architect.
Well, I'm sorry, could you repeat your name?
Sure, this is Ada Rose, YG Architect.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very excited about this project. We worked really hard to come up with a really good floor plan, a wonderful site plan, something that we feel is going to be a real benefit to the community. We have, ample parking. We really worked very hard at making a very nice landscaped area, creating lots of private open space. We did work with the fire department and the waste management company to make sure that we could accommodate the turnaround between buildings A and B. And that was part of the reason why we removed the initial gate that was there to make sure that the fire department and the fire trucks and the waste management truck could both enter and exit without any problems. You had asked an additional question regarding parking by permit, and I think that's an excellent idea. The project isn't yet at a point where the CC&Rs have been written. That is something that will be forthcoming.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Okay.
If I may?
With that said, let me start off with Commissioner Morrissey. Is there any questions you have of the applicant?
No, I don't have any questions at this time.
Commissioner Nguyen,
No question, thank you.
Commissioner Rivera.
None at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Fan.
None at this time, thank you.
Okay. Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
Yes, thank you. So I see that there'll be HOA dues, correct? Hello?
I'm sorry, what is your question?
There will be HOA fees?
No, I'm not entirely aware. We have not discussed that with the owner. Again, that is forthcoming as far as CCNR.
I thought I read that in the staff report.
It will be common area, so we'll need to pay some kind of association fees.
Oh, my apologies if I am contradicting the staff report.
Common area.
Okay, because I was going to ask what would be included with that, if in fact there were going to be HOA dues. So, but if at this time is that typical staff that right now, well, the staff report mentions it, but the applicant says they're not planning for it. Is it something they can still do?
Commissioner Contreras, the CCNRs have not yet been drafted, and these usually get drafted before the final map gets recorded, and it's typically something that is driven by the applicant and developer. But obviously, like most condominium developments, there always are some HOA fees to maintain the common areas like the landscaping as well as the open space. But in terms of the fee, that is something that the city does not get involved and is usually something that's driven by the applicant.
So will there be HOA dues or not?
Most likely.
If the owner can call in to answer that, because I can't speak on their behalf in regards to that.
Okay.
Is the owner on the
Vice Chair
line?
Contreras-Leo,
What, Mark?
do you have any other questions, or are we just waiting for?
I don't know if we're waiting. I just thought I had read that in the staff report there would be HOA dues, so I want to know what that would encompass, being that, I think our new commissioner's on point about this is an exciting, hopefully affordable, project, something that people in our community can become new homeowners. And so with doing that and then having HOA fees, I just wanted to know to what extent that might be in this situation. And do the other residential areas around there also have HOA fees? Or would this be something new for that area?
Commissioner Contreras, the development to the north is also a condominium development. So HOA fees are pretty much standard for most condominium developments. As mentioned, those fees are utilized to maintain common areas. So it's most likely that this development is going to have fees, but in terms of what that number is going to be, is usually something that gets figured out later on by the applicant.
Okay. Thank you.
My question is, we had three letters of opposition to this particular project. How and what is the applicant taking into consideration those concerns?
Can you speak to which concerns specifically you're referring to? And I'd be happy to address that one. I have some of the comments written right in front of me, and I'm looking at them.
Well, I don't have that document right here. I just wanted to just ask that there was some concerns that were listed and I'd like to just understand what you as the applicant are doing to mitigate those concerns.
Sure. As of this afternoon, before I had left the office at 3, there was only one negative item that was uploaded. I don't know if 2 more were uploaded, but the only one that was there was the one about loud enough notice. So I don't know, Jerry, if you could let me know what the other concerns are on the 2 new items that were uploaded, because they weren't there at the 3 o'clock this afternoon, but we would be glad to take a look at them and see what we can do.
They're on the website. All of the correspondence is posted on our website. We do take comments up until 5 p.m. And so if you have access to the internet now, you can view the comments.
Yep.
Okay, so if you go to our website where you located the agenda for this meeting, the agenda packet, the comments are listed under each item. So this one is item 1.
Here we go. There's a few I had not seen. Okay, I saw that one.
Chairman, and just to add on, a lot of the concerns with regards to the lack of community involvement, as mentioned, we have met state's laws as well as city's requirements in terms of noticing, and we did have a work study session as well as a sunshine ordinance meeting. In addition to that, the adjacent properties were notified of the environmental document. In addition to that, I just want to make sure that the public understands that the Planning Commission is only recommending an approval to the City Council. So we will be having a City Council meeting coming up should this body decide to recommend approval. In addition to that, I believe the first meeting in August for the City Council has been canceled. Therefore, this project will most likely go sometime in late August, if not early September. I could definitely work with the applicant to have some form of community outreach in between that gap.
Yeah, I think Jerry, I think that's an excellent idea, and that's what I'd like to, given the situation, and we have a little extra time in there. I think whatever we do with regards to voting on this item, I would bring up the condition of getting an outreach session between now and, let's say, the middle of August, so that at least we have the opportunity to go through the questions and concerns on the part of the people who live in the immediate area. Okay. Ala, is the owner on the phone, or are you not able to reach her at this point in time?
The owner is listening in. I'm hoping that they will call in to comment. Can they just call the general number that's posted?
Yes, they can do that.
Sarah?
Yes, they are able to do that when we call for public comments in a minute or so. Okay. We can take that comment then.
Okay. All right. Do any of the commissioners have any other questions of the architect at this point in time? Okay. Hearing none, we will open. We'll open the public hearing at this time. We'll continue the public hearing at this time. And do we have any public comments from the public at this point in time, Madam Secretary?
If you are participating by conference call and wish to speak, please press *9 now. We'll wait for participants. At this time, we have 2. Again, I will call on you by the last 3 numbers of your phone number. Please, at that time, state your name, your position on the matter, and your comment. You will have 3 minutes, and I will alert you when your time is up. Caller with the last 3 numbers of 193, please go ahead. Caller.
Yes, hi, my name is... Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, hi, my name is Erica Gonzalez. I'm a lifetime Santaniera, small business owner in a grassroots organization in the BEWLEY neighborhood. And I am in opposition of this item on the agenda, the General Plan Amendment number 2020-03, and the tentative tract map number 2020-01. rezoning a two-family residence neighborhood into condos with increased density. And as it is well documented, Santa Ana is leading in COVID cases and is already the densest city in Orange County. Cities with higher densities are more susceptible to this pandemic, and we are going to be in this situation for some time, unknown at the moment. If we're going to be honest, we all know that the cities of Santa Ana and Garden Grove have been trying to develop and change the zoning of the Willowwood Golf Course and the surrounding area for more than a year. We do not need more luxury apartments in Santa Ana. I don't know how many times, at how many meetings, and how many different languages we need to say this. Santa Ana doesn't need more housing. We need affordable housing and green space, which has been made clear by the existing community that is currently residing in this area, as their lives will be directly affected. Many surveys have been completed by Rise Up Willowwood, and it's abundantly clear that the residents do not want condos or luxury apartments, mixed living, etc. in this neighborhood. They want parks, they want micro farms, they want community centers. This form of gentrification has been proven to displace existing communities that have been thriving for generations. The systemic oppression that the residents of Santa Ana are constantly exposed to is not only appalling, it is intentional, and it is a disgrace. The lack of transparency and communication is consistent with the way that the city treats its residents, with a complete disregard for not only their well-being, but their best interests as well as the best interests of their children, which many in power seem to forget are the future of this city. And they will not forget the way the city has chosen to operate these past 2 decades. You have not communicated with the surrounding area. Contact Rise Up Willowwood. Rise Up Willowwood Coalition has been working with the residents in this community for over a year now, and they have completed surveys. You want to know what the residents want? Talk to them. Organize with them. That's who you need to communicate with. I didn't get notification of this meeting until this morning. So for you guys to say that you sent out letters since last week, especially with the holiday weekend, you know that the mail wasn't going to arrive until probably this weekend, if at all. So again, the lack of transparency is appalling, and I expect more from you all. The city expects more from you all, and we are paying attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
Next caller with the last 3 numbers, 032. Please state your name, your position on the matter, and your comment.
Thank you. My name is Shai. I'm a resident of Ward 5.
I'm sorry, caller, can you please repeat your name?
Yes, Nathaniel Greenside.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
And so I am not in support of this item. I'm not in support of the recommendation. For some of the reasons which I do appreciate were already brought up by Chair McLaughlin, which is that there hasn't been a whole lot of community input on the matter. And back in 2017, when everybody had jobs, ensure that the notifications which were sent around got lost in the mail. You know, everybody gets distracted because they all work during the day, but imaginably so now that a lot of folks who live in this area where this development is being proposed are of low income, a lot of multi-generational immigrant households who don't speak English as their first language. I would imagine it should be required that whoever's trying to develop our city should be going door to door with notifications of each and every instance where they're going to be having a community forum in any affected neighborhood in our city. And apart from the whole issue of having proper notification and seeking actual community input on any sort of development happening in Santa Ana, I'm also very interested in knowing how the owner and the developer intend to ensure that any sort of housing that they're proposing in this neighborhood specifically is going to remain affordable for the folks who live there. As I mentioned, there's a lot of low-income folks who live in that neighborhood. And even those who own property in that neighborhood are older, and those folks are living off of fixed income. Some folks are even having to go into debt in the form of reverse mortgages after having lived and contributed to Santa Ana for decades. Now they're going to see their entire neighborhood flipped upside down. I'm sure all of you are aware of the 2525 North Main Street initiative recently that blocked development of 2525 North Main Street. And the rationale was that that neighborhood of folks, Rancho Santiago community, did not want tall apartment buildings, more housing being constructed at the edge of their neighborhood. And given that that neighborhood is of a specific demographic, seeing that their initiative was able to be brought forth to the city council after they collected the signatures and the city council just adopted it on the spot, it's starting to picture that in Santa Ana, the decision makers of commissions and councils here in the city only seem to care about the voice of certain people and developers with money in our city. And so I don't think it's anything, there's no incentive for the property owner or developer of this project that's being proposed in front of you all to do anything, but you all as commissioners have the power to put forth any sort of recommendation to the council with any sort of situation that you deem fit as a planning commissioner. And so I really encourage that you don't proceed forth the way that it is that it is on the agenda and the recommendation is drafted right now, but that you really do, as Marcos, as the chair McLaughlin has said, that you really do a better job of seeking the community input. And a lot of folks right now don't have jobs, so it's actually going to be a lot easier than it was in 2017 to go knock on folks' doors and say, hey, we want to completely make
Caller,
the neighborhood
3 minutes has
different.
arrived.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Appreciate your comments. Hey, Madam Secretary, do we have anybody else at this point in time? Has the owner of the project been able to get on?
If there was anyone else that'd like to speak on this item, please press *9 now. I'll wait a couple of seconds. There are no other callers that wish to speak on this item.
Okay, thank you. Having said that, we will close public comments at this time, and we will bring it back to the commission for discussion. Would anybody at this point in time like to make a motion or have a discussion, have something to discuss? Commissioner Morrissey, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner McLaughlin. So, with regards to noticing how, I guess I'm unclear as to when this project was initially noticed. Was it, has it been on hold for a while and now just came to the forefront, or has this been an ongoing?
Gary, can you answer that question?
Yes, Commissioner. This project was originally submitted to the city back in 2017. At that time, staff analyzed the project and determined that it was subject to the Sunshine Ordinance, and therefore a Sunshine Ordinance community meeting was held on April 9th. We did receive feedback based on the attendees that participated that the development was too dense as well as not enough parking. Since then, as mentioned, the developer has reduced the number of units to 10 as well as added additional parking. In addition to that, since the project does require an environmental review, on May 6th, we did circulate that document for public review, and people were notified of that document. And just to clarify, state law requires us to notify individuals within 300 feet. The city usually notifies people within 500 feet of the project site. So those particular mailers for tonight's meeting, as mentioned by the secretary, were mailed out on July 3rd.
Mr. Morrissey, is that?
Yeah, that answers my question, but notwithstanding, I think there is, the community is concerned about their ability to give input on this project. So I'm wondering if there's a way to extend the opportunity to give input. The other question I have is there a requirement specifically to provide affordable housing in development this size?
Just to answer the first question, Commissioner, since this project does require City Council approval, as mentioned, we will also have to notify the individuals of that meeting. And during the time period from now and the City Council, I could work with the applicant to further engage the community. But just wanted to clarify that the applicant has the right to develop 12 units without needing this approval. I just want to clarify that the only reason that they're here is because they're asking for a subdivision to allow for condominium development. And to answer your affordable housing question, the project did trigger the housing opportunity ordinance, and the developer has elected to pay in lieu fees that will be then utilized for the construction of affordable housing units.
Jerry, can you repeat that? I didn't understand exactly what you were saying.
Chairman, to clarify, are you asking me to the affordable housing? The developer or the project is subject to the housing opportunity ordinance because of the general plan amendment, and more than 5 units. The developer has elected to pay the in lieu fees, which will then be utilized by the city's community development agency to construct affordable housing units.
So this is not a project that's considered to be affordable housing. The developer or owner is planning on doing a in lieu fee on this. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chairman.
Okay, so I think that clarifies your one question, Tom, regarding affordable housing.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions, Tom, Commissioner?
No other
Murphy?
questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Nguyen, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Commissioner Rivera?
Yes,
Go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, just a question as far as, I know in the past we've talked about where we're at with affordable housing for the city. I know this isn't luxury apartments, this is condominiums for rent. So I think this is a pretty good opportunity. We're talking about having people own property, which is something that we have heard a lot, that, you know, we're not looking to build a lot of luxury apartments in the city. And I think this is a good opportunity to have condominiums. And just how it was said, I guess they have the approval already, or they can build 12 units for rent without approval or anything, but they're looking to build condominiums for ownership. So I'm just curious as far as what our affordable housing looks like right now in the city. Where are we at with those numbers? I know we've been told in the past, but I kind of don't remember, to be honest.
Min, Jerry, do you want to comment on that question?
Chairman, Commissioners, in terms of the regional housing needs, we have met those numbers and have exceeded those. Obviously, the state has just recently created new numbers that we are starting to look at that. But just to clarify, affordable housing is usually seen by our housing opportunity ordinance, which is ordinance that is governed by our community development agency.
So at this point in time, what I think what you're referring to is the RENA numbers. The RENA numbers through 2020 have been met on all levels that we had to meet with regards to housing. With the new RENA numbers that are coming out for 2020 to 2025, we don't have an indication of what we have to do at this point.
That is correct.
So, Chairman, that is correct. Just to provide, this is Min, just to provide you some numbers for the 2014-2021 numbers. The city was to provide 45 units for very low, 32 units for low, and 37 for moderate, and 90 for above moderate, for a total of 104. From the period of 2014 to 2021 so far, the city has used 3,430 units, exceeding the total by approximately 1,600%.
Right. And so, Commissioner Rivera, does that answer your question with regards to affordable housing to date?
Yes, that is exactly what I was looking for. I couldn't remember what it was, the RENA number, but yes, that answers the question. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Fan.
Hi. Yes, thank you. First, I do have to say, as a young person who grew up here in Santa Ana, I definitely understand the struggle of housing costs. In fact, I just bought a townhome here in Santa Ana last year, And it's very similar to these condos. In fact, it's considered a condo. It looks like a townhome. It's kind of the only home we can afford because it is a townhome instead of single family. And I very much support medium density because it kind of is that sweet spot where, if they could have put in a single family home and no one would be able to buy it, or they would have put in apartments and that would be a different issue. So that actually leads me to my question regarding apartments. So if they had put in apartments, would that project have triggered the WHO?
No,
I'm sorry?
it would not trigger the WHO. The WHO ordinance is
Right.
being triggered because of the general plan amendment.
General plan amendment, right. So I just wanted to reiterate that for some of the commenters, right, the only reason why this particular project has to pay in lieu fees is because they are seeking to provide condos, which are for purchase, rather than apartments. They could have, and please correct me if I'm wrong, put in 12 market rate apartments without paying anything and triggering. So they would not have to pay any fees. They would not have to provide affordable unit. Correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. And I want to say that I really appreciate that the medium density is consistent with most of the surrounding buildings and lots. And I do want to comment, however, regarding RENA numbers. I mean, I do feel for the commenters who are saying, we're looking for affordable and whatnot. And while I'm very proud that our city has met our RENA numbers, RENA is based off the area median income, which is $20,000 higher for the county than it is for the city of Santa Ana. So, I hope that as we move forward, we also look at what's attainable for our residents today. And finally, and this is just a comment for the applicant, I understand that you have complied with the sunshine ordinance and our notices went out. I'm not happy that it happened basically over the holiday weekend, but I know we've complied with the law, or the applicant has complied with the law. But let's do better. Let's do better and talk to the community more. Don't wait over 2 years to have the next, notice. Like, let's engage them and see what it is that they need over time, and so that our residents feel heard, that our residents feel like they've had some input, and that our residents don't feel left out of the process, so that we get community input. I just really hope that as we move forward to council, no matter what happens with the vote, that that happens in the interim. So that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fan. Vice Chair Contreras-Leo, do you have any comments or questions at this point in time? Vice Chair Contreras-Leo, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. In regards to getting notices out, did I hear correctly, a notice went out over the 4th of July weekend, prior to the weekend?
Yes, Vice Chair Contreras-Leo, that is correct. Notices go out 10 days before I send those out on a schedule. Notices go out on a routine schedule, and it's always the Friday, that Friday 10 days before.
Now, is that also part of the emails that we get from the city?
No,
Does that go out? No.
Those emails alert you that the agenda is available for viewing. The notices, the 10 days before, those are notices that go out to residents to actually occupants and owners that live within 500 feet of the project site.
Okay, I just know that right now business is not as usual, even the way we're conducting our meetings, and I don't know if there's a way that staff can think outside the box now in getting messaging out. I don't know if there's anything else we can look at to to make sure that the message is getting out. There's just, a lot of different elements that are going on right now. I'd just like to maybe put that out there, food for thought.
Okay. Vice Chair Contreras-Ledo, do you have any other comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. I don't have any comments at this point in time other than just as I stated earlier, it appears that we've had some not consistent feedback from the neighborhoods. There's some question about notification and everything else. I'm understanding that I'm not sure what neighborhoods actually make up that surrounding area, but I think that there should be, and we need to come up with a way of at least allowing the people that are in the neighborhood surrounding this project their input one more time. And so no matter what we do from a approval perspective, I'd like to make the contingent, everything contingent on having a meeting with the neighborhoods and making sure we get the feedback that we're hearing that we'd like to get. Having said that, I'd like to ask for a motion on this matter.
I move.
Is that Commissioner Fan? Ty?
Oh, sorry, that's not, I move to approve.
And I second with your contingency, that you're wanting to add.
Okay, so Ty, you're making the motion for this, correct?
Yes, so I make the motion to adopt all three resolutions and the friendly amendment that we also add that the applicant reach out to the neighborhood one more time, at least prior to going to council.
And I
Okay.
second.
All right, you seconded. All right. Is there any other comments at this point in time? I'm going to go through the list one more time. Commissioner Morrissey, do you have any questions or comments with the motion?
Well, yes, I guess how, so if the project goes out to the residents one more time, say the decision is to approve the project, move it forward to council, and the neighborhood, how does that come back to us? I'm not sure what the purpose of.
Well,
I understand it's important to get their input, but does the project come back to us, or?
Commissioner, the item would not come back to this body, but after I coordinate with the applicant for these additional community meetings, I will go ahead and notify this body of those actions.
So
So
how
I
does
think-
the community feedback get to council?
Correct. The feedback received for these additional community meetings will be provided to the City Council.
Well, the other option we have, if I can say this, is that we can continue the matter with the contingency of having the neighborhood meet with the applicant, and then it would automatically come back to us on the basis of a continuance.
Chairman, that is correct.
Well, I think, this is Commissioner Fan. I think because this is merely a recommendation, meaning, we just tell City Council, hey, this is what we think. And I think overall,
right.
I agree that it's a great project. I think that there are some things missing, notably the talking to the residents. But because this would be something that is noticed again to the residents for public hearing with the City Council, I would like to see staff, when you have, and the applicant talk to the community, add that to the staff report, include it in the staff report like you did with the meeting in 2018, so council can see what people are saying now. If that answers the question of getting, community input to the City Council.
Commissioner.
Tom, does that
Yeah, I mean, it's just as long as the community meeting, result of the community meeting gets to the City Council and they're clear on their feelings.
Yeah, I think staff is saying they'll get that information to council.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
yes, we've done that before. We have done that
Yeah.
before, where you condition it on having further community input or community outreach, and then that's all reported to the council at the council action time.
Yeah, because I understand the notice went out over the 4th, so I think it's important everybody gets heard who wants to be heard.
Well,
Okay.
I think that we ought to, I think we ought to either make sure that the neighborhoods that are surrounding that, even though they may exceed, the actual address may exceed 500 feet, we still should have some input from the neighborhoods themselves, which would take into consideration the surrounding area more than 500 feet. I think we need to make sure that that's happened.
Mark, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if we do that now, are we setting a new precedent moving forward? Because, in fairness, if we're going to do it for this, then that begins a new precedent and when they start sending out notices.
Right,
It's a
and
fair
the
comment.
city is legally required to notify residents and property owners within 300 feet of the project, and we exceed that by going to 500 feet. So if you want the applicant to post notices or whatever for their community meeting, that's fine. But requiring more of the city for notification on all future projects would be overburdensome.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that, Chairman. I'm just saying that we need to just, I don't know how we change
Be
that then so
consistent.
that it's the same for
That's fair.
everybody.
That's fair. At this point in time, given that that's the circumstances we're in, then that's fair. I just think we're constantly being told by the public that in fact they didn't get made aware of this particular project or they didn't receive any information in time, and we kind of fall back on the 500 feet type or 300 feet and everything else, and it just I understand Lisa's concern about overextending the manpower, but I don't know how to solve the problem that says that people aren't getting a chance to input on this project, not this project, and on a number of projects.
Mr. Chair, this is Minta.
Yes.
The commission has already conditioned this project to provide additional outreach between planning commission and city council, so I think that's a great condition for this project. So why don't we take the conversation of potentially discussing additional outreach for future projects at a study session, and we'll put that on the agenda so that we can discuss the issue and maybe look at something a little more comprehensive.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Let's take it one more time here, and does anybody? We have a motion and a second, and the motion has been conditioned on having a neighborhood outreach meeting. Commissioner Morrissey, do you have any other comments that you'd like to make at this time?
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Commissioner Nguyen?
Yes, I do. I applaud the applicant to provide the 4.0 parking spaces for this complete development. But I hope the surrounding neighborhoods understand that this particular parcel, the way I look at it, I'm familiar with the area as well myself. If they go build like single home residence, it will be very expensive because the cost of development nowadays. And no longer we question about the affordable housing. They build 10 condominium units, either for rent or for sale. Those considered to me it will be more affordable for the local residents can able afford to either buy the condo or rent the condo instead of the building like 2 or 3 single residents. So I hope the local neighborhood would understand that I am support this particular project, and I also want to support the recommendation by Commissioner Fan that the motion to adopt the resolution, and with condition that the developer should meet with local residents to listen to the concerns.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Nguyen. Commissioner Rivera?
No questions or comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivera. Commissioner Fan?
No, that's all for me.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, I have no further comments, so with that, we will move to have a roll call vote. Madam Secretary, will you please take a roll call vote?
Yes, Commissioner Morrissey.
Aye.
Commissioner Nguyen.
Aye.
Commissioner Rivera.
Aye.
Commissioner Fan.
Aye.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
Aye.
And Chair McLaughlin.
Aye.
Motion passes 6 with Commissioner 6-0 with Commissioner Garcia absent.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. This is the time and place to consider item number 2, conditional use permit number 2020-13 and the variance number 2020-02 for the property located at 515 East Dyer Road. Decisions on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 days. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose at this point in time?
Ivan's on. Well, he was.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Yes.
I have a potential conflict. I'm going to have to recuse myself.
Okay, Commissioner Marcy, you're excused. And we have Commissioner Garcia, who is not here.
Chair McLaughlin.
She's not here, correct? Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Commissioner Morrissey, can you please state your conflict of interest for the record?
Potential business conflict.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Morrissey. So at this point in time, we have 5. We have a 5 that can vote, quorum. Anybody else have any comments that, with regards to this particular project that they need to disclose at this point in time?
No.
Okay.
I have a question, Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I think technically I'm supposed to leave the meeting. How will I be notified when the item is?
You can mute your phone, Commissioner Morrissey, and then come back on when you hear that we've continued to the work study session.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Commissioner Morrissey. All right. Allie, are you ready to present? Are you presenting?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Hi, this is Ivan. I will actually be presenting the item tonight.
Okay, Ivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Commission, before you this evening, item number 2 is for a truck terminal and distribution center for Amazon. The applications before you this evening are CUP number 2020-13 and variance number 2020-02 for the property address 515 East Dyer Road. Moving on to slide 20, please. There it is. Thank you. As mentioned, this property is on Dyer Road. The general plan designation is industrial and is consistent with the zoning of light industrial, M1, and it is also surrounded by industrial uses to the north, east, southwest. Moving on to slide 21. As mentioned briefly, this is an application for a truck terminal and distribution center, and it's essentially to construct improvements to an already built-out site consisting of a building that is approximately 370,000 square feet. It's a warehouse building. The truck terminal will be designed to meet the current layout of the site. There will be a new perimeter wall throughout the entire street frontages on both Holiday and Dyer Road with landscaping and signage. And the design of the site is able to provide 413 on-site parking spaces. Moving on to slide 22. As you can see, this is a site plan of the entire property. It is a substantial size, approximately 370,000 square feet as mentioned on the building. The current layout for the operation will be utilizing 1/3 of the building for parking within the structure, as well as parking throughout the site. There'll be a couple of entrances for the driveway vans along East Dyer Road, as well as Holiday Street, where the large trucks will come on site to the loading docks. Moving on to slide 23. This slide is illustrating a couple of the building elevations. As you notice on the site plan, the building is substantially large, and to provide the entire frontage or the elevations would take a couple of slides. But as you can see, the entire south elevation is comprised of the three buildings that you can see 1, 2, 3 from the top to the bottom, and then the last slide is part of the east elevation. The building is pretty much consistent. It's going to stay the same with a couple of paint touches. And so as you see the building now, just improved aesthetically. Moving on to slide 24. And I will be providing a little quick analysis of the project. As mentioned, the site modifications will ensure that the operation will be efficient, minimizing any possible disruptions in traffic patterns in the area. There will also be on-site parking that will be managed through the parking management for the operator, including employee shifts. So although there's only 413 parking spaces on site, at no point during any shift will there be more than 413 employees. It's impossible, as I mentioned, to provide additional parking spaces without dedicating more of the building, and therefore possible operation issues. And so, without acquiring additional properties or constructing a parking structure, there is no physical way to provide additional parking spaces. Conditions of approval have been added to both the CUP and the variance to guarantee to minimize impacts onto the surrounding properties and roadways. Moving on to slide 25. And this is just an additional analysis. As mentioned, the project will create a major source of employment in the city's industrial area, and it is adjacent to major arterials as well as freeways. And recent site improvements, including parking and landscaping, have resulted in reinvestment in a currently major and good-sized vacant building along one of the city's arterial roadways. Moving on to slide 26. And with that, staff concludes the presentation and recommends the approval of conditional use permit number 2020-13, as well as the approval of variance number 2020-02 as conditions. I'm available to answer any questions, and I believe someone from Amazon is here that may be able to answer any operational questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. At this time, does Commissioner Nguyen have any questions of staff?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera?
No.
Commissioner Fan?
No.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo?
Yes, thank you. I just want to review a little bit how the trucks are going to be leaving the property. They won't be going, will they be going left on Holiday towards Warner, or will that only be, will they only be going to the right to get onto Dyer?
So to answer that question, to exit the site, the vans will be exiting onto Holiday, as well as some of the vans will be exiting directly onto Dyer. But the idea on the traffic patterns for the operation is to exit along Holiday to access Dyer Road, either make a left or a right on that turn signal.
If they exit Holiday, if they make a right, they'll be at the light signal, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I just feel it would be an issue for them to be going through Delhi, the neighborhood left. Is there a way to only be able to exit onto Dyer off of Holiday?
Well, the applicant actually submitted a traffic analysis of the full operation. I'm not sure, I believe Mark is on the line. But the idea is, and it has been approved through the city's design review committee. The idea is to minimize traffic into that neighborhood and essentially just filter on through Holiday to either go east or west along Dyer Road.
Okay, and I understand that we've been in this situation before, and I think that, you know, we're here because, one, I think it's a great project, but two, you know, Delhi has had its share of, you know, brunts that they've had to take, and I just feel like to allow these big trucks to go down through their neighborhood, it's just not the right thing, and if we can avoid that, I don't see why we wouldn't. Plus the freeways on that side, on Dyer, I don't know how my colleagues feel about that, but
Well, I'm gonna jump in there for a second, Vice Chair Contreras-Leo. I mean, we have two levels of transport. You have vans, which, you know, we all kind of know what an Amazon van looks like at this point in time. And then you have 18-wheelers that are coming in, bringing in product and everything else, and taking product out. Are you expecting to have both levels of transportation going through the Delhi?
No, the 18-wheelers are assumed to go through Dyer, not through the neighborhood, but access the site through Dyer and then Holiday, and then exit the site through Holiday and straight onto Dyer. So not through the neighborhood. You will
right. So the roads, the streets are not set up to have a certain tonnage on them. So the fact is, the large trucks will not be going through, and it becomes a question of the vans.
Correct.
And your concern, Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
my concern was that the big trucks would be going through there. Since it's not written that they wouldn't, I just wanted to be sure. So I'm glad you separated the two and explained it that way, Chairman. Makes much more sense, but I understand too that it was just stated that it's an assumption that only the vans are going to go that way. Is there a way that we can put it
Sure,
in
we can,
writing that the vans
well,
can go less but not the semis?
but Public Works must have a tonnage that we can set a tonnage on that road, which would basically rule out any 18-wheelers going into the neighborhood. I mean, that's one way of controlling it. I mean,
Okay.
Ivan, is that a correct statement that I just made?
Yes.
Okay.
That works for me.
Is that your question? Okay. My question, I've got a couple of questions. We talked about the parking, and I'm not necessarily concerned about the parking. This is going to be a 24/7 facility, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
And it's going to be running 3 shifts?
Yes.
Okay. And when we talk about getting out onto Holiday and then turning left or right on Dyer Road, assuming most would go to the left because it gets you to the highways.
My question is, are we changing anything relative to the light sequencing on Dyer? Or is that going to remain the same?
Not that I'm aware of, but that usually is consulted through Public Works. And though they reviewed the traffic analysis, it wasn't mentioned that any sequence will be changing. At least I was not informed of such.
I mean, it seems to me that the vans. I mean, the vans can. I mean, in my neighborhood, I can see 6 to 10 Amazon vans at any given time in the neighborhood. But I'm looking at it from the standpoint of exiting and getting out onto the highway. Is this going to be a problem with vans being backed up along the Holiday Road, waiting to get the traffic light to change? Just a thought.
Mr. Chairman, this is Vince Fregoso. The only changes...
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. The only changes that were identified in the traffic study was that the turn pockets had to be lengthened out a little bit longer than what they're out there now. So the turn pocket on Dyer, that's going to turn left-hand to go north on Halliday, and the turn pocket on Halliday turning left southbound on Halliday will both have to be extended. That was all the recommendations of the traffic study, and those will be implemented as part of the project.
Okay. All right. Good enough. That's all I've got for questions. Ivan, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and we'll move on. And Madam Secretary, have we received any comments on this item or e-comments received by the 5 p.m. deadline? Have they been distributed to the Commission and posted on our website to provide a summary report?
Yes, all comments received by our deadline have been posted to our website and distributed to the Commission. A summary report of the comments, we received a total of 2. One in opposition, and the other was a general comment requesting a traffic signal at an intersection. And that concludes the summary report for that item.
Okay. All right. At this point in time, the public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Applicant,
Mark, are you?
Hi, it's Mark Suburban with Amazon. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Very good. Again, my name is Mark Suburban. I'm a senior program manager with real estate in the entitlement team, based here in California. I work for Amazon, though, out of my corporate office in Seattle. And I just wanted to thank the planning commissioners tonight for hosting this meeting. I know in all these trying and troubling circumstances, and appreciate the online meeting and the chance that you guys can take a look at this project. Amazon is excited to come to Santa Ana, be a part of the community, long-term member here, and again, any questions, be happy to answer them. But just again, thank you all for hearing us and considering the project.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Does Commissioner Nguyen have any questions of the applicant?
No, I do not have any questions. I just want to comment. I would like to give a warm welcome to Amazon to select Santa Ana for the development of the project. I know this project will create some number of employment for our residents as well as bring in revenues to the city. I would like to, if possible, put a motion to adopt the resolution as in condition.
Well, we haven't closed the public hearing at this point in time, Ken.
Okay. All right.
So when we bring it back to the commission, we'll be more than happy to take the motion from you. Commissioner Rivera.
No questions or comments at this time.
Commissioner Fan.
Hi, yes. Thank you for being available for questions. And I just wanted, I guess, some insight. I do see that the staff report mentions it'll be approximately 235 full-time jobs with additional part-time jobs and over 200 jobs with third-party delivery person. Can you explain to me whether, or I guess the process for Amazon hiring, whether they have preference for folks who live in the area in Santa Ana or anything like that? I guess I just would like to know. Thanks.
Commissioner Pham, again, Mark Suburban with Amazon. I have my business associate, Stephen BEWLEY, who is part of our economic development team at Amazon as well. He took the time this evening to join me on this call, and I don't know if I believe he's still on, if he's unmuted himself, but if it's okay with you, I'd like to introduce Stephen BEWLEY to you, as Stephen, again, heads up our economic development team here in California, and I'll turn it over to him for those kinds of questions, if that's all right.
Sounds perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen, are you on?
Unmute everyone.
Well, Santa Ana was talking about putting in special filters in the air. Is there any mention of that? Well, it's not.
I don't think Stephen's been unmuted. I don't know if the folks that are controlling the Zoom call can unmute Stephen.
We have.
Yes,
we have gone through the list. There is no one on mute. There are no participants on mute. Everyone is unmuted. So if Stephen is online, you may go ahead and speak now.
Or maybe he needs to hit *9 to raise his hand.
No.
Dialed in on the public. Okay.
Yeah, not as a participant. I do have, let's see here, caller, last three numbers, 788, that has their hand raised. I am sorry, I cannot tell if this is Stephen or if this is a member of the public that wants to speak. But we'll go ahead and unmute that person. Caller with the last three numbers of 788 are you Stephen?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Stephen.
All right, we found Stephen.
Thank you.
So, good evening, everyone. Good morning. Good evening, commissioners. So, again, I'm Stephen BEWLEY. I'm with the Amazon Economic Development Team. And so, I want to respond to your question about jobs. So, so there are three types of jobs that are going to be generated from the distribution center. They include full-time Amazon associates. They also include what we call delivery service partner drivers. These are the individuals who are going to drive the vans on a daily basis. And then the last component of the jobs are what we call flex drivers. And these are individuals who will use their own vehicles to deliver packages on Amazon's behalf. The vast majority of these jobs will be what we call DSP driver jobs. So they will be independent delivery companies who will deliver packages in the vans, in the Sprinter vans that you see with Amazon. Most of the employees will be drivers. The next largest tier will be the Amazon associates working at the site, and then lastly, a small percentage of the jobs will be Amazon Flex drivers. In terms of recruiting for the positions, right now we've had to change our standard operating procedures as it relates to hiring and launching sites, primarily due to COVID-19. Before, we would have direct hiring events in the locations where we're very close to the locations where we're actually operating our sites. Generally speaking, we generally hire locally just because we want our employees, our associates to be close to where they work, and we want the commutes to be reasonable. And that's actually how it's generally materialized in the past, is that most of them come from the surrounding community that the delivery station operates out of. And so the only real significant difference now is that our hiring process is virtual. And so what we do is that we partner with local organizations, particularly workforce development organizations, to ensure that the word gets out related to the launching of a new site. But again, the process is now about 90% virtual, and the only thing that potential employees come in for is to provide documentation of the ability to work in the U.S. Outside of that, everything else is done virtually. And what we would do is, prior to the site launching Dyer Avenue, Dyer Road, is that we would engage, at your suggestion, local workforce development, and again, get them geared up to get the word out about how to apply virtually for these jobs on this site, and do it with enough lead time to make sure we get as many Santa Ana residents as possible. So I hope that answered your questions, but I'm more than happy to answer any other questions you may have about the hiring process and our tips for the site.
Yes, thank you so much, Stephen. Definitely answered my question, and I know it's not a land use condition or anything like that, but I do encourage Amazon and the applicant to learn to work with these community organizations, especially around Delhi and other communities in Santa Ana specifically. It would really benefit our residents here. So, well, thank you for your answer. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sam, this is Steve Kine. What I can do is work with the applicant, as we have done in the past, is that we have the Workforce Center, and I will connect the applicant to the city's Workforce Center, and they can coordinate for a job there once they're hired and assisted in the recruitment process.
Yeah, that would be perfect, and especially if that can be done in multiple languages, in Vietnamese and Spanish, that would be fantastic, if we don't already do that.
Well, again, we'll be happy to work with any organization that you recommend, and however we need to get the word out, we're more than happy to do.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Stay on the line, because I'm sure there's going to be other questions. Vice Chair Contreras-Leo, have you got any questions?
Yeah, I
of the
think I've
applicant?
read. Yes, I think I had read somewhere about street parking. What is that about? Is there going to be street parking? Staff or?
Mark, can you?
Yeah, it's Mark Suburban with Amazon. Allow me to address that question if you don't mind. Amazon, we are a 5-year-old business within Amazon. Our delivering of products to people's doorsteps and homes is again a somewhat new endeavor for us, and we are taking away learning as we go right and left. And the real estate, when I started with Amazon in January of 2016, we had approximately six delivery stations. Now we're over 200. And again, we continue to get better and better at what we do. The real estate that I looked at in 2016, in no way, shape, or form mirrors the real estate that I look at today. So, for example, I might have taken inline space at a center like this where I had neighbors, 3 on the right and 3 on the left. I might have been in the middle, and we might have taken parking, whatever we could take, and then if it was street parking, we would have done that. what Amazon has done as we've grown this business is to make sure that we stay self-contained within the lease perimeter of the sites that we lease from our landlord business partners. So in a long story, to make it a little bit short, we will accommodate all of our vans, trucks, and delivery drivers throughout inside of the four boundary markers, if you will, on the property. We do not intend to park on the street of Santa Ana with our vans or our personal vehicles.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I know that some residents have written in about that, so I appreciate your explanation. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mark.
any
That's
other,
all.
you're good? All right, a couple of quick questions I've got is, when we talk about the manpower that you have today on, in the facility, when do we expect to transition to where you'll be full on 24/7 for the entire facility? And how does that grow when it comes to your full-time associates? What's your growth perceived to be at this point in time?
Well, our growth, we have a slower ramp-up period, if you will. Once we get into the building and turned over and we do our first day of delivery, we don't just turn the faucet on all the way. We have a slower ramp-up period. We give our employees, our station managers, and delivery van drivers what we call seasonality testing, meaning that we walk before we run. So, for example, for the first 3 to 5 weeks, we might be at 40 or 50% of what the station is capable of. And again, getting our cadence, getting our marching orders, and getting everybody, on board, if you will, with the nuances of this site, we will then steadily every week step up with a little bit more, getting up to a full jog, if you will, on we call it steady state basis. And that generally takes anywhere total of about, I'm going to say 5 to 8 weeks to get that cadence up and running and making sure that we have the right people in place and we're working out all the kinks and bugs. Again, when we talk about a 24/7 facility, there's many different functions that are taking place when the packages come in overnight, when the sortation associates sort them based on zip codes, when the van drivers come in the morning, load the van, they depart, that's another function. The flex drivers that come in the afternoon, again, another component. So when we say 24/7, there's always something going on at the facility, primarily focused around the delivery of these packages during normal business hours. That's generally the focus of the station is, again, to deliver those packages, and everything else that happens surrounding that is in support of the delivery of those packages.
Okay. All right. The only other suggestion, I think Min gave the suggestion of getting you connected with the work center, and that's a great idea. And I know the other area that we're reaching out to Amazon is also through the chamber and the city when it comes to workforce development too. So that's another facet that the chamber for Santa Ana would be another place in which we could initiate getting some workers signed up and everything else. So that's a consideration.
Sure, we're happy to participate. As my business partner, Stephen BEWLEY mentioned, I'd be happy to partner with the folks there in Santa Ana to make something like that happen. Again, we want Santa Ana residents. We think it makes for happier employees when they don't have to travel as far to work, and it just makes good business sense to have the citizens in the community, inside the community of Santa Ana, to work at this station.
Okay, that's great. We appreciate that. All right. With no further questions of the applicant, Madam Secretary, do we have any other individuals that would like to comment?
If you'd like to comment on this item, please press *9 now. We'll wait a couple of seconds to see if we have any callers. We don't have anyone who has indicated that they'd like to speak.
Okay, hearing none from the applicant and hearing none from the public, this public hearing is now closed. Do any of the commissioners have any questions of the staff at this point in time? Commissioner Nguyen?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera?
No, no questions.
Commissioner Fan?
Not here.
Okay, Vice Chair Contreras-Leo?
No, thank you.
Okay, and again, my question on the TI, so with TI, we're looking at roughly from today until full 100% up and running. We're expecting that to be how long, Mark?
I'm sorry, the question, you said the TI.
Yeah, you're doing, are you not doing tenant improvements at this point in time?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I'm sorry. Tenant improvement work, yes, we are. I believe the station is scheduled to be open. Fritz, I think I have my construction manager on the line as well. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe we're going first quarter 2021 on this site.
Okay. And that's to be ramping up, and then you could 5 to 8 weeks get you. So it's first quarter of 2021 is when you expect to be online completely.
I believe that is correct. And again, we get that ramping up stuff going on pretty fast.
Sure.
We're doing most of the hiring beforehand, making our commitments and offers out there and things like that. And then again, we just bring people on. Again, we don't want to burden the site. We don't want to burden the community. We want to make sure that we get a nice cadence going and then continue to step up, if you will, until we get to a steady state jog.
Great. Appreciate the input, Mark. With that, if there's no other comments or questions, do we have a motion on this item?
Yes, we'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead, Ken.
I would like to make a motion that we adopt this resolution number 2020-13 as condition, and also approve the variant number 2020-02 as condition.
Second?
Okay, thank you. And the second is Vice Chair Contreras-Leo. Okay, any other comments at this point in time? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, will you do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Nguyen?
Yes.
Commissioner Rivera? Commissioner Fan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo?
Aye.
And Chair McLaughlin?
Aye.
Motion passes with Commissioner Garcia absent and Commissioner Morrissey abstaining.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. Good luck. Stephen, good luck. Thank you for helping us through this process today.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, we look forward to becoming a part of Santa Ana. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much. With that, we'll conclude the business calendar at this point in time. We'll bring it back to a work study. And I believe, Vern, you're going to do the work study?
Mr. Chairman, Vince Fregoso again. Vernie and I are going to give you a update on the general plan. So,
So the two of you guys are going to...
Yes, sir. I'm going to start you off and hand it off to Vernie. And Vernie's been living this project for about 4 years. He will fill in the details. But bottom line, this is a presentation that was given to the City Council last week. And it's just a high-level overview of the general plan. Most of you know about it, have lived it for the last few years as we have. So Vernie's going to kind of give you a quick overview of the project. And then at the end, there are some of the key dates, which is really what we're trying to focus on and kind of give you a heads up on what to expect as far as the next steps in this project. So, Vernie, you still engaged right now?
I sure am. Good evening, Chair McLaughlin, Commissioners, and welcome to Commissioner Morrissey, who I think had to step away. Hopefully he's back with us. Can you hear me okay?
Is he? Yeah, can we check? Sarah, would you check and see whether Tom is online?
Yes, Commissioner Morrissey is online and he is unmuted and now participating in this meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great, thank you. So if I may, as Vince was mentioning, we provided a brief update to the City Council, and any time that staff has some exciting news to share or is ready to go out to the community, before we do that, we'd like to touch base with our commission and council to let them know kind of the latest and greatest since we spoke with you last. In this case, we were before the commission around this time last year in 2019, where we presented our vision statement, core values, and status report in the general plan, focus areas, if you recall. Tonight we're here to check in on our current progress and, as Vince mentioned, announce some key dates as we move closer towards adoption later this year. So these first few slides in our presentation start to ask the question of what makes a world-class city. Some of you may remember some of these images, so we'll kind of go through them quickly. Next slide, please. All right, can I get the next slide, please?
Yes, it's just coming up.
Oh, okay, thank you. So these images,
Sarah, I'm not seeing any slides on this.
Please change the slide. To the next slide.
But he said images, that's an image, that's a map.
That's perfect there, Ben. All right, if I may continue, so these next series of slides start to speak to what makes a city a world-class city, something that offers something of quality, substance, folks around the world kind of can instantly recognize. And then moving on to this current slide here, we're talking about Santa Ana's regional setting and its adjacency to some key, regional airports, universities, and then, on our west coast part of the United States here, we have our beaches that are a huge attraction, and then the Disneyland resorts in Anaheim and so forth. We were looking at ways to create linkages towards Santa Ana and what it has to offer. Let's get the next slide, please. All right, so then we ask ourselves the question on what Santa Ana has to offer. Santa Ana continues to be take a leadership role in the county. Its unique urban setting is a draw for the younger generation and emerging businesses. It, after surveying our community, has become the center of culture, art, food, and music. And its residents and our residents are proud of its rich history and want to preserve its heritage. Things including the future streetcar line and its location in the county for being the county seat and for its level of architecture, history, and its past offers something real for folks to really want to come here. So that's where we start to ask ourselves what we want to be. Next slide, please. All right, so I can just continue on here to the next slide. All right, so the general plan's purpose, as you know, many of the commissioners were around last year, but for those that weren't, we'll provide a quick update on what the general plan's purpose is. As you know, it may or may not be. As you may or may not know, it's the local government's long-term blueprint for the community's vision of growth. It's the long-range constitution that sets forth goals, policies, and programs to ensure that we accomplish our mission. And it is mandated by the state with 7 required elements. Last time we updated this comprehensively was 1982, so it's been quite a while since we've done that. We have updated various elements over the past decade. If I can get the next slide. Part of our original policy framework, thank you, we presented our goals and guiding principles in trying to work towards protecting, enhancing, and transforming our city while addressing key priorities and building on our key assets. As I mentioned, our rich history, our culture, and our people. The new general plan will be comprised of 12 new elements, which will embrace current topics, practices, and philosophies within 5 core values, which are health, equity, sustainability, culture, and education. And these are the 12 elements that you see here outlined on the slide. We can continue. Grab the next slide. All right. So this slide here covers a summary of our community outreach efforts over the past, as Vince mentioned, 4.5 years of work that we've done, which began back in 2016 with the initial community outreach. There was a video series that was presented, 40 citywide meetings, a youth summer program, and then in 2017 we distilled the executive summary that was presented to the city council and assembled a general plan advisory group. And I want to thank Commissioner Nguyen, who was part of that GPAG back in 2017, to distill the information that we received from our community. Together, we put together a vision statement, our 5 core values, and then our goals and policies, which today will become our draft elements that we're excited to share with you at upcoming meetings. In 2018, we had a technical advisory committee, which is different than the general plan advisory group, in that the TAC was comprised of individuals from the city and other jurisdictions such as the Orange County Fire Authority and other responsible agencies to look at the goals and policies produced by the stakeholders themselves to make sure that they were relevant and that they were technically correct. And then in 2019, we did a community survey and we did individual workshops in each of the 5, what are they called, the focus areas, which I'll go over here. Received about 650 responses to that survey, and then 300 participants at the 5 focus area workshops, which were well attended in 2019. The feedback that was received at those individual workshops, together with meetings with key stakeholders and council members, formulated what was the focus area project description that led to the notice of preparation for the beginning of the environmental documentation for the project that got started in February of this year. And so right now we're kind of at a critical phase where we want to go back out to the community. We understand the topic of environmental justice is of key importance to the city, and items such as open space and just environmental impacts to our residents was brought to our attention from the get-go. So we wanted to do some additional outreach related to environmental justice. We did some strategic outreach and sent out about 32,000 flyers to our communities in these areas, and then have since put up a narrated PowerPoint presentation. It's about 20 minutes in length that I encourage you to please check out. It's in English and Spanish at this time, and it's also available as a standard presentation for those that might have any sort of impairment to audio. So that concludes kind of our outreach efforts. If I can get the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the key plan focus areas as part of that notice of preparation intended to create 5 new focus areas, South Main Street, Grand and 17th Street to the SR 22 to the north, West Santa Ana Boulevard along the streetcar trajectory, the 55 Freeway Dyer Road area, which is adjacent to the Amazon site that we discussed here this evening, and then South Bristol Street, which would be connecting our existing South Bristol Street improvement plan that terminates at Warner Avenue down to the southerly city limit in Costa Mesa to capitalize on some of the success that Costa Mesa and the Southwest Metro area has recently had. The areas in blue here on this map kind of show existing mixed use or planned areas that are in the ground. And so we felt it was important to focus along these corridors to start to create some vital connections throughout our city. I'd like to get the next slide, please. All right, so part of the update today was to try to give the commission a sense of how this new general plan will be formatted. As I mentioned, it's going to address key community topics of importance to our residents and businesses.
there will be 8 mandated topics or elements. There were 7 physical elements, but the 8th topic is that environmental justice element that we hope to include and incorporate in all elements with key goals and policies throughout our entire document. The new general plan, instead of being this voluminous, book that's shelved somewhere in City Hall, is actually going to be streamlined and very visually appealing, hopefully. And it's going to comprise of 3 volumes that are separated into areas that are kind of similar. The first being services and infrastructure, the natural environment, and the built environment. So there will be topics such as open space, which would belong, for example, in the natural environment volume of our general plan. The next slide, please. All right, so as I mentioned, the purpose of our environmental outreach was to do a focused effort in these EJ areas. As I mentioned, we did about 30,000 physical flyers to our residents, as well as electronic correspondence to our interested parties in June of this year. We did email and web distribution of the outreach flyer that included kind of a one-page front portion of what the environmental justice SB 1000 requirements are, as well as what we were doing firsthand in Santa Ana in our community to address some of the key topics that our residents brought up. In addition to that, I mentioned the online web learning tool that we've just launched, so I encourage you to check that out. And then we will be posting a summary of key policies and implementation actions specifically related to environmental justice here on our website. If I can get the next slide, please. So as Vince mentioned, there's really no action item here before you this evening. The idea is to try to get the word out on upcoming community workshops. We've landed on 2 dates, July 31st, which is a Friday, and August 1st, which is a Saturday, and provided evening and morning events in order to allow for increased participation. The first event is going to be in the evening, I believe that it's 6 p.m., and then on Saturday, August 1st in the morning at 10 a.m., these will be about 90-minute sessions and allow some live Q&A with our residents or stakeholders that wish to ask questions about our draft general plan. We're intending to present the draft plan to our community. Again, this is the draft plan. It's not an adopted plan, or it's not a plan that is ready to go. It's still very much in draft format for the community to provide feedback on at that time. And then we will be providing an overview of major changes to policy, land use plans, plus an open and answer question, as I mentioned. And our next slide, please. All right, so just to cover our next steps, we're talking about environmental justice, which is current and ongoing right now, and our upcoming community workshops again on the 31st and August 1st. I encourage the commission to come out and join us on at these virtual workshops. We're going to be sending out invitations here in the next few days virtually, and those invitations will go out to our interested parties citywide through Nixle social media. We'll have information related to joining the virtual workshop, a pre-registration, and what you can expect at the meeting itself. And as I mentioned, the current environmental impact report is in process and is scheduled to be released here in August, early August, August 3rd. And then we will be proceeding with the draft element review at subsequent study sessions with both the Planning Commission and City Council. We're going to have 2 study sessions coming up for the Planning Commission, and as well as 2 study sessions with the City Council in order to vet the actual draft elements, in smaller portions. Since there's so much information to cover, wanted to allow for adequate processing of the information and feedback as we continue through this process. And the next step is Planning Commission and City Council later this year is our goal. So with that, I thank you for your time and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anybody have any comments or questions of Bernie at this point in time? Commissioner Morrissey, do you have any questions or comments?
Commissioner Morrissey?
He is on the line and he is not muted.
Okay.
He just muted himself.
Oh, he. Commissioner Morrissey?
Okay, we'll go on to Commissioner Nguyen. Any questions or comments of staff?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera?
No comments or questions at this time.
Commissioner Fan?
Hi, yes, I do have some comments. First, thank you for this. I'm a bit of a planning nerd, so this is very exciting for me. The fact that our general plan wasn't updated, it's been long. It's never been updated in my lifetime, so it's been quite a while, and we do need something to be our roadmap. A couple issues. One, are we planning to present this or kind of announce it at the conference meeting? I know we do have attendees there. That would be great. And of course, Nixel also. I'm guessing, is that in the works or anything like that? I just want to make sure that people do get to, know about these workshops and are able to attend.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Pham. We are finalizing our Nixel communication that's scheduled to go out probably by tomorrow. It's going to go out in multiple languages and inform folks of the upcoming workshops. So that is happening.
Okay, and so Friday night and Saturday morning, if you help explain to me why we chose a Friday night and a Saturday morning, because maybe it's just me, but usually Friday night, even in quarantine, we have plans, people do Zoom happy hours, and Saturday mornings, people often might not be up by 10 in the morning to join.
Sure.
So if you have a history of high attendance at this time?
Thank you for the question. We had those two dates identified just based on our aggressive schedule to try to get this plan adopted in 2020. They were the first available dates that didn't conflict with other city events. There's lots going on right now in the summer, and wanted to afford our residents the opportunity, if they had full-time jobs, for example, to attend the Saturday session. And it's typical that we have weekday, evening meetings related to larger projects. Friday happened to be the available day, so we decided to do back-to-back meetings Friday and Saturday.
Okay. And then for the outreach for environmental justice areas to over 32,000 residents, how did we decide this? Where did it actually go? That's 10% of our city. So I guess I'm trying to figure out, who got those?
Okay, so our environmental justice areas in Santa Ana are limited to about 17 census tracts in our community, and largely they're located in areas that are typically, as you would say, they would bear a disproportionate amount of pollution or health risks. So typically they're adjacent to like freeways or industrial uses. So those are the key targeted areas that we have for environmental justice. The state puts out a tool that is called Cal Environ Screen that allows us to map our community based on variables, typically based on variables related to risk, whether it's pollution, things like obesity, traffic, health issues, poverty rate, language barriers, poverty, asthma, things like that come up, and then allowed us to identify and prioritize these communities based on some of these impacts. So what we did was we mapped them, and then we did a strategic outreach to those census tracts in multiple languages so that they, the affected neighborhoods were aware of the upcoming general plan. And we have received definitely some emails and folks that are interested, and we've compiled a lot of this data and are open to publishing it on the website and sharing it with our council for their consideration as well.
That's great. My last question is, for these workshops, are you planning to do kind of just survey? I know it's 90 minutes, but I remember when we did the strategic plan workshop, you know, with the live responses, and we had a lot of participation, and that was really fantastic to see, you know, in real time. So if you can do something like that, I'm not sure how it's set up, but I think that was a great way to get, you know, tally and obtain feedback and record it. That was all.
Thank you. We are planning on using platforms similar to what we've done at Comlink, if you're familiar with Comlink, where we will take a question and answer at the end of the meeting. There may be some sort of survey. I'm not sure at this stage, but it will be a recorded webinar, which can be replayed at, you know, the residents or business owners' leisure, so that they can be well informed and then provide comments either in writing or by phone, so that we can account for everyone's considerations.
Great, appreciate it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera.
No questions.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
No questions, thank you.
Just a couple of questions I've got. Number one is that for whatever reason on my screen there was a significant delay in the slides versus the discussion, and I'd like to ask: are we able to get a copy of this presentation so that we can look at it a little bit different at leisure, so to speak, at this point in time? The second question I have is, I'm assuming based on what we're talking about with these two dates, the 31st and the 1st, these are going to be virtual. These are going to be virtual meetings, and or how is this going to play out?
Chair McLaughlin, if I may, thanks for your comment. We'd absolutely be happy to provide you with a copy of the presentation. And the two workshops are indeed going to be virtual based on the current COVID situation. So what we're going to do is get the word out as soon as we're able to, using all means of access, and then try to make it accessible to as many folks so that we can get that input.
Okay. And then you said it's also going to be put on YouTube, I'm assuming, and based on YouTube, it'll be available for people to view at a different time and place. If we're doing something like that, are we going to set a deadline for when we would expect people, if the event's on the 31st, how many days are we going to give people to respond and make, bring up questions or comments or concerns about the plan? What's the schedule going to look like?
Yeah, that's a great point. We will be very clear in the community workshops in terms of when folks can provide commentary. Keep in mind that these workshops aren't going to be for the adoption of the plan, but we're going to give folks the important dates for upcoming Planning Commission, City Council feedback when the plan actually becomes a public hearing, and when their comments would be considered quote unquote final for incorporation into the plan.
Okay. All right. Does any of the commission at this point in time have any further questions for Bernie? Okay. Thanks a lot for the presentation, Bernie. We appreciate it, and look forward to seeing the events on the 31st and 1st.
Thank you.
All right. With that said, we have finished the work study, and we will bring it back to the commission for, first of all, we'll bring it back to staff. Staff, do you have any comments at this point in time?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this point in time, I just want to join the chair and the Planning Commission and welcome the Planning Commissioner, Commissioner Morrissey. I look forward to working with you and providing you support here on the Planning Commission. So, welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Any other staff members' comments?
Chair McLaughlin, may I? Can we please go back to the written comment question, and then we will also take any comments, see if there's anyone that'd like to speak on agenda item number 3.
Okay, fair enough.
So we did
So,
receive
anybody
one.
that wishes-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry about that. We did receive one comment that was distributed to the commission. It was also posted on our website. It was a general comment regarding zoning, and that is on the website. And if there's anyone that would like to speak on agenda item number 3, please dial *9 now, and we'll go ahead and wait a couple of seconds. We do have one caller that would like to comment on this matter. Caller with the last 3 numbers, 477. Please state your name and your comment.
Yes, my name is Dale Helbig, resident of Santa Ana for 28 years. A couple comments. One is I'm hoping that the general plan element updates are issued or reviewed prior to the July 31st, August 1st meetings. We've been asking for this update for a long time. It'd be nice to let the public see these things before we start getting into the review of the environmental impact report and other items. Also, I did send in a letter to you guys, and I'd like to clarify something that was pointed out to me, and that was I said the entire street on Grand Avenue was being redesignated as a district center. I was incorrect in that, in the fact that part of it's a district center south of the 5 freeway. Everything else north of it is being rezoned to urban neighborhood, including the post office, which is institutional, single-family homes, LR7 areas are going to be urban neighborhood designation in a lot of other areas. So what concerned me initially and got my attention was when this was presented in the 2019 workshop, the only area that was discussed at the neighborhood meeting at John Muir was the area from Lincoln over to Grand Avenue on both sides of 17th Street was going to be changed, and they gave alternative 1 and alternative 2, which either changed it to urban neighborhood with a 3-story, 4-story, or 5-story designation. And now it's expanded all the way up to the 22 freeway. They added an additional mile of rezoning, and it also added all the area down south of the 5 freeway, which is another 3/4 of a mile rezoning. So that wasn't initially presented to the public during these workshops, and that was kind of just slid in on the side and, hey, this is what we want to do type deal. So I would like to see the whole plan versus just getting thrown out piecemeal pieces one at a time. You know, all this urban neighborhood is going to add a lot of people to the area. I've been told, well, you know, don't worry about the open space. That'll be covered in the open space element. But the fact is, these things got to work together. And without being able to see both of them side by side, how are we supposed to know how they're working together when we're seeing an additional 1.5 miles almost added to the urban neighborhood zoning requirement? So I'm hoping that we get to see this sooner rather than later. Thank you for your time, guys. Stay safe.
Yep. Thank you, Dale. Sorry, we missed you there. I didn't see your hand up.
No problem.
Okay. Do we have any other people that would like to comment at this point in time?
No other callers.
Okay. Hearing none, then we'll go back to comments on the part of the commissioners. We'll start with Commissioner Nguyen.
I would like to welcome Commissioner Tom Morsey to the Planning Commission. I'm looking forward to work with him for the benefit of residents and the city. That's
Commissioner Rivera.
Same, I'd just like to welcome Commissioner Morrissey and staff. Thank you for answering the questions today.
Okay, Commissioner Fan.
I echo everyone's sentiment, and also stay dry, or stay cool, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, Vice Chair Contreras-Leo.
Same thing. Big welcome to our new member of our group here, and hope you feel welcome, which is a different way of entering on the commission these days. We don't get to visually meet you yet. But anyway, thank you to staff, as always, for answering our questions and providing us materials.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morrissey.
Yes, thank you. Well, first, I'd like to thank Councilmember Mendoza for appointing me to the position. I'm very honored to be here. And I'm very excited to be a part of the commission, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone to improve the way we live, work, and play in the city. It's a very exciting time with the adoption of the new general plan. It's a very exciting plan, and looking forward to being a part of that. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Tom. And I'll say welcome, and I've known Tom for quite a long time, and this is really a great opportunity for the Planning Commission as well as for Tom to be part of the Planning Commission. So I look forward to working with you on a regular basis. I'd like to just also comment on Dale Halbeck's comments that he made, and I'd like to make sure that possibly someone from staff can take and follow up and make sure that we do, in fact, answer some of the questions before we get into the presentations on the 31st and 1st, so that we have a little bit of understanding and groundwork done beforehand. At this point in time, hearing no more comments, I would like to adjourn the meeting. The next regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for July 27th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m., and it will be a virtual meeting as always. With that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.